So my goal for you in this video is for you to learn how to handle when someone disrespects you or makes fun of you in conversation. And this concept, it's literally so simple and effective that the next time this happens to you, people around you are going to be looking at the person who's making fun of you and they're going to be like, why is this guy talking so much? He looks ridiculous. And this tip, I wish someone had told me when I was younger because there were so many times where I also experienced the problem of not knowing what to say or how to react when someone disrespects and makes fun of you in conversation. Because when I was in middle school, I was bullied hundreds of times and I would literally be in like conversations. There were lots of conversations where I would literally be like face to face with someone who was like just saying a bunch of crap towards me and literally like disrespecting me right there, but I had no idea what to say. I had no idea what to do. And it was like the fact where like I knew deep inside that I had to say something to, like stand up for myself, like grow a pair and like be a man and stand up for myself, right? But I also wanted to react in a way that wasn't overly emotional and I didn't want to show like signs of like emotion that I was hurt by what they were saying. And let me tell you, this concept, knowing how to react and how to handle people who disrespect you is super important because if you react the weird way, it can actually make the person disrespect you even more, just like what happened to me. I remember this one time, bro. I was like 11 years old and I'm sitting on a school bus going back home from school, and the guy next to me literally starts making fun of my eyes. Now, if you don't know, I'm half Latino and half Asian. But let me tell you something. When I was like 11 years old, I looked so much more Asian back then than I do right now. Because back then I was chubby, I didn't play any sports whatsoever, so I had lots of belly fat. I had like this bowl cut, I was absolutely cooked. But that's how I looked like, and I was 11 years old. I was sitting on this bus, and this guy literally starts making fun of the way that my eyes look. And if you're Asian, you can relate to this. He was doing the ching chang chong, and he was doing karate chops. And then he kept disrespecting me. And then he said something that really crossed the line to me. And then he got to the point where, he would, slant his eyes with his fingers and he'd be like, dude, can you even see well with those eyes that you have? And at this point, deep down inside, I wanted to say something. I wanted to say something to stand up for myself. I wanted to say something for this guy to stop. But I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to do it without making a scene. And I didn't know how to say something that didn't sound insecure, that would make him stop and that would make me feel confident. But because I was like a shy guy, I had no idea what to say. I ended up just doing the worst thing possible, which was literally just doing an awkward smile. So I did something like, and then just turn away. And because of this, he actually started disrespecting more. This guy that was bullying next to me, he literally started saying, "Why do you always blow your nose? Why do you always smile at people and do that? Can you even stand up for yourself?" He basically started disrespecting me more. And I had to deal with this the whole bus ride. But once I got back home from the bus ride, I went back home and lied down on my bed and I felt absolutely destroyed. And this was because he kept offending me and disrespecting me, and I had no idea what to say on how to stop it. And after this happened, I knew that I didn't want to experience anything like this again. So I started finding out ways on how to actually deal with someone who disrespects you in conversation. I started watching hours of YouTube videos. I started looking at really popular kids when, someone would make a joke at them or how they would handle social situations where they were made fun of. And from all those hours of watching videos, from what I've seen and from what I've learned from really charismatic people that I've met throughout my life, I'm going to teach you the best way and pretty much the only way to deal with someone who is disrespect you and make you look confident and most importantly, make them look insecure in front of everybody that's there. In this video, I'm literally going to give you multiple scenarios where you could possibly be offended and then things that you can say in return in order for you to look confident and for them to look super insecure to the point where they just feel stupid. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the most important thing to do when someone's disrespecting you in public, when somebody's making fun of you, offending you, whatever, the only thing and the best thing that you can do is to do not emotionally react to them. Do not emotionally react to them. What does this mean? I want you to have this mindset that anything that they say, no matter what they say, it does not offend you. You are going to push by your day no matter what. Because here's the thing. When someone is disrespecting you, they are trying to leverage power. Okay, so let's say this Asian guy, right? Or this guy that was making fun of me because I was Asian, my eyes or whatever. He was saying that and he was trying to get a reaction on me. And he did. He got the awkward reaction. And these guys that disrespect you, right? They want you to feel emotional. When you emotionally react to someone, right? When you respond to them, you're like, oh, no, no, no. You don't like it. Sorry. Like, oh, like, you get all wishy washy, right? When you start arguing back, that basically gives them the power because they're like, hey, what I said, it controlled you. It controls you. I control your emotions. Anything that I say you get offended by? Yes, sir. Yes, buddy. I control you now. But let me tell you something. When you don't emotionally react to them, when you're just like, oh, yeah, that's just the way my eyes look, whatever. Oh, that's just how it is, whatever. And then you keep going by your day, you kind of ignore them, then they're just like, oh, wait, I don't have the power. Wait, wait, wait. This guy, he's not responding. He's not emotionally reacting to what I'm saying. He doesn't care. So I'm talking a bunch of crap, but I'm just looking stupid because I'm like the only one he's talking. So anything that they say, I want you to give them nothing. I'm not saying don't say anything because then it looks insecure, but anything that they say, no matter what they say, give them nothing in return. What they say does not offend you. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to redo the situation on how I would act if this guy were to bully me again. So let's say I'm getting bullied, I'm right, and he's like, dude, you have the most Chinese eyes ever. Your eyes are super ugly. I would just be like, ah, no, you good, bro. Like, I'm half Asian. These are just how my eyes look, bro. Like, that's just how it is. And imagine if the bully's like, but they look super ugly, right? Dude, you have Chinese eyes. They look super ugly. I would be like, I mean, they're just my eyes, bro. Like, I mean, I can't really do much about it, but nah, it's whatever, bro. So do you see how I'm just accepting it. It's almost as like you're just phased through what they're saying. This is exactly how you want to be. And another example of how this worked for me was with my parents. Let me tell you something, bro. When you have immigrant parents like me, these immigrant parents do not play around. They expect you to get all A's. They expect you to be nice. They accept you to do the chores that they give you. And if you don't do any of these things, they're going to yell. And I remember throughout my life, my parents would yell at me so many times. My parents would yell at me so many times when I didn't get good grades, when I did something or said something that disrespected them. And because I wanted to stand up for myself, right? Because I wanted to say, hey, I'm a person too. I can't let you disrespect me, even though they were my parents. I would raise my voice and I would yell at them all the time. I would say, oh, you're wrong from doing this, mom. Oh, like you have no idea what I'm going through. And because I would raise my voice and emotionally react, they would get even more emotional, especially my mom. And because of this, they would ground me, they would take away my phone. And as a kid, I tried to raise my voice so many times. I tried to show emotion and try to convince them, my circumstance or something that happened. But every single time I emotionally reacted to something that happened or something that they said, it would make the situation worse. However, this all changed when I learned this concept, which was basically from a bunch of like self improvement influencers, a couple of dating coaches as well. But when you don't emotionally react to things, and when you just act just like non-phased by things, it almost as like the people who are yelling at you, the people who are trying to get your attention, they are the only ones who are emotional. And since you're not emotional with them, they can't align with that. So then they end up looking stupid. So when I learned this, I had to apply it, right? So the next time my parents yell at me, I just feel like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like it's okay, whatever. I would be more calm about it. Or let's say if there's a problem, my parents wanted me to take out the trash and I didn't, and they would yell at me. They'd be like, "Oh, why didn't you take out the trash, JJ? Why didn't you take out the trash? You never listen." I'd be like, "Oh, so sorry, mom. I'll go take out the trash right now. No worries." And since I did not emotionally react to them and didn't yell, it made things a lot better because I'm not giving them anything. And because I'm not giving them anything, there's no reason for them to raise their voice anymore. Things in my life got just a lot better by just not caring and not emotionally reacting to problems or things that people were telling me that made me feel disrespected. So now I'm going to teach you on how to take advantage of this concept. I'm literally going to give you scenarios on how you could be disrespected in school, at work, or in public. I'm going to give you these scenarios and then I'm going to give you examples on what you can say and how you should react in order for the other person to look insecure and then for you to look confident as well. So let's say like you're in public and you're just talking to a friend and someone makes fun of you. They're like, be like, bro, you're so cringy. You're literally so awkward, you're cringy. You can just be something like, yeah, I know, man, I'm kind of cringy sometimes, but in life, you just got to be yourself sometime. Do that instead of saying, "Oh, bro, shut up. I'm not cringy whatsoever." And with this concept, your tone is extremely important because you don't want to be like, "Oh, bro, that's just who I am. This is life whatsoever. Don't worry about it." Your tone needs to be as like you don't care. So let's say someone calls you cringy or awkward again, just be like, "Oh, you know what? I can be kind of cringy sometimes. Who cares? It's kind of just life." You don't want to be aggressive whatsoever. You just literally want to take what they're saying and just like diffuse it. You don't care what they say, you're just going to push right through it. Another example is someone making fun of you physically. If you're on the shorter side and somebody's just like, "Bro, you're short," just be like, "Yeah, I'm no not the tallest, but I mean, I can't change my height, man. I like my height." Just defuse the situation, act like you don't care. Don't give them anything. Anything they say does not offend you whatsoever. Accept yourself. The next scenario that's super handy all the time is when you are disrespected by workers in public. I was finishing up a class in university last year, and every single time I would finish up this environmental class, right, I would go to lunch with a friend of mine. And this friend of mine, by the way, he's like an extremely charismatic guy. And so, we're going to lunch one day, and we get one tray of food, and we sit down, right? And we ate for a while, we started talking, and then we go back again in line because we wanted more food, right? And as we go back into the line, there's this worker guy, looks like a manager because the clothes he was wearing was a little bit different from the other workers that were working there. And as me and my friend, we were going up to get food, this manager stops us. He's like, you guys aren't coming in here. You got to get a new tray. You got to go all the way back through the line." He was basically saying it to like my friend because, there's a line and my friend was in front of me. And when he said this, I was wondering, oh, how's my friend gonna react to this? He's a charismatic guy. My friend literally was just like, nah, you good. And then he just left in line. And I'm just like, yes, buddy, like how it should be, right? You don't react to it whatsoever. My friend didn't care. He couldn't choose it. So he's just like, nah, you good. And he just left in line. And I feel like this is super important because there are so many times where, workers can call you out. They'd be like, oh, excuse me, you haven't paid whatsoever. They send you to the back of the line, or some a worker in the restaurants, she's giving you a bad time. The best thing to do is to do the same thing. Just be like, "Oh, now you good. It's no big deal." If a worker's like, "Oh, excuse me, you didn't pay," and they're in like a rude voice and everything, just be like, "Oh, no problem, I'll just pay for it." So be completely unfazed, give them nothing, do not emotionally react. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.